Hello and welcome to the Coming Down to Earth with Spirit podcast with me, your host, David Hale. In the podcast, we'll be talking about mediumship and all things spiritual in a down-to-earth and honest kind of way, with a touch of humour also. So I hope you can join me on my podcast journey so you can learn from my own spiritual journey and experiences with spirit in the aim to help you on your own spiritual journey, or it may just be to answer any of those questions that you have about the spiritual world. So join me now as we get into this episode. So I wanted to start off my podcast with, by turning a video series that I've recently started on YouTube into a podcast so people can listen rather than having to watch a video of me talking. And I started the video series with the aim of educating people who are either learning to be a medium or just people who want to know about the spiritual world, what happens, what is mediumship, how does it work, by discussing my own examples and real life experiences with spiritual moments or readings that I've done for other people. So hopefully you'll find the episodes entitled Spiritual Impacts interesting, and you will hear me referring to the video. Of course, this is a podcast, so you don't see a video, but it does reference the videos that I have now turned into this podcast. But if you do feel inclined to actually watch me talk about these topics, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is davidh_medium, but the content is exactly the same. Let's get into this episode. Well, hello everyone and welcome to episode 9 in the Spiritual Impact series. No more videos, we've bypassed videos and gone straight to podcast. So in this episode, we're going to talk about how to address pregnancy in a reading. And it's one of those topics which you need to be careful about, but you're also aware that if you are authentically receiving information from spirit about a pregnancy, you want to give that good happy news without spoiling any kind of surprises. And sometimes as a medium, when certain things about pregnancy drop in the mind, we're not always sure as to whether I'm telling someone they're pregnant or there's a pregnancy coming or whatever it might be. So pregnancy is one of those things, again, you have to be careful of. And I was talking to a friend in America, actually one of my students as well, that because of the culture we live in, very similar to the last video where we talked about health and death, is that when it comes to pregnancy, because it's such a sensitive topic, people will hang on to every word that you say. So for example, in the States, you could tell someone that they're pregnant and they're having a boy, and they go out and buy a load of boys' things, paint the nursery blue and whatever else, or the stereotypical things that they might do. But yet a girl comes along. And in that case, there are some people who would actually sue you because you got the sex wrong. Because at the end of the day, they've been out and bought a load of boys' things and made everything blue, and they no longer want that because it's a girl. So you've got to be very careful when it comes to pregnancy. Now, let me give you my examples of when I wouldn't necessarily say, I didn't wittingly and knowingly predict a pregnancy because I'm not that person. I'm not going to sit down with tarot cards or anything else or do any particular pregnancy readings. And there are people out there who will do fertility readings, and those I question. Again, unless you are a fertility expert or someone's GP, are you really going to offer fertility readings? Are you a walking dipstick? I don't know. So those kind of readings I would avoid, but seriously, they are out there. People do offer pregnancy fertility readings, and anyway, that's another story. But when it comes to mediumship, let's just give you some examples of when this has happened to me. And again, I'm not always aware that I am giving any kind of prediction with the pregnancy, because you can look at it two ways. As a medium, we receive information from spirit, so we pass on what spirit are telling us. And when it comes to things like pregnancy, you can see it as good news, so why wouldn't we give it? But again, we have to be very careful because we're not always 100% and we can misinterpret things. And you could see it as, spirit no, because spirit don't give us, when it comes to mediumship reading, a mediumship reading is not about predictions. Mediums do not predict. We leave that to the psychics. But then we could also look at it as, well, spirit know who's about to come into this life. So if that person's spirit family are aware of a baby coming in, as mediums or spiritual people, spiritualists, some of us are of the understanding that we choose our parents, we choose to come into this life, and therefore spirit up there, they know that a new spirit is going to enter that family. All right, if that makes sense, what I'm saying. But anyhow, let me give you some examples of the times that I did predict a pregnancy, and I never take for granted what I do, so I never go into anything saying to myself, "Oh, I'm going to get this right. I'm going to predict this. I'm going to predict that." So when some things do happen, like pregnancy, like good news, it does take me back a little bit. I have got to say, I still surprise myself with what comes through, or spirit surprise me with what they give me. So here goes the examples. The first one, and you're going to think I sound a bit mad by saying this, but I was in the bathroom one morning, and I was getting ready to do. I was preparing myself for a mediumship reading with a client via video. And as I looked down to the floor, to where the bath mat is, when you step out into the bath mat, you don't fall over and crack your head open. There was ice in the image of the in the bath mat. I saw the image of what looked like to me a baby's face, and almost as if it was in like the 3D scans. They look a bit odd, don't they? But you can see the face of the baby, and underneath the face of the baby was the shape. And I'm going to sound a bit of a nutcase here, but underneath the face of the baby, imprinted into the mat, to me looked like the shape of fallopian tubes, but like the diagrams you get taught at school when it comes to sex education. Here's the ladies' bits, and it looked like they were in the shape of fallopian tube. And in my head, I thought, there's an issue with there's somebody that can't get pregnant or something, because I don't know why else I'll be seeing that. So anyway, I sat down to do the reading for the lady. Again, a gorgeous lady, and she could understand everything else I'd said about her mum coming through from the spirit world and whatever else was there. I can't remember. And I remember having the feeling of needing to talk about what I saw on that bath mat. So I to an extent, I tried to push it away because I thought, no, that's a bit too mad. But I thought, no, I'm going to say it because I feel like I'm being pushed by this lady in spirit to say it. So I explained exactly what I saw, so she knew what I was seeing, where it was coming from. And she confirmed that her and her partner have been trying to get pregnant for a long time, but they are in fact having pregnancy issues, so she can't get pregnant. So I can't remember how the reading ended, but we didn't leave on a sad note. I just felt that I needed to say, well, keep on practicing. If you don't practice, you're not going to get pregnant. But they're at a stage where they couldn't get pregnant. Anyhow, 2 weeks later, on another call that we did with a group of people, the same lady was there who confirmed she was 2 weeks pregnant. So I was a bit surprised by that, but it was nice news. So that was lovely news to give. So that's the first example. Another example, again, unwittingly talking about pregnancy. I was talking to another girl via video, and her father had come through, and I was given evidence that it was him, character, personality, and all that jazz. And all I heard in my head was, I'm looking forward to the patter of tiny feet. And I know what that means, right? That's your generic term for, someone's pregnant, or they're looking forward to that person being pregnant. So I said it, and she put her hand up to her mouth, and tears started to fill her eyes, bless her heart. And she went, I'm 3 weeks pregnant, and I've not told a single person in my family. Only me and my partner know, no one else. So again, it's an example of, there's no way on earth I would have known that. She's 3 weeks. She would have been showing anyway, but where the video was placed, I could only see her from the chest upwards. So there's no way on earth I'd know that. I again just went with what I heard in my head. So it's her dad making her aware that although he's not here physically, he is aware that he is going to be a grandfather, and the baby has since been born. And the last example made me laugh, actually. It was at the close to the very beginning of my development, and I was doing a reading for another lady, and I had, for whatever reason, I brought her daughter into the conversation, and her daughter is very much alive. And I said to her, I said, I'm seeing a child around your daughter. And she went, no. I went, are you sure? Because I don't know what it is then, because I'm being made aware, I'm being shown your daughter, and I described her, and I'm being told that there is a child there. And she went, no, my daughter is very much, doesn't want, her kids are not on her agenda. So I thought, because I was at the beginning of my mediumship, that I was wrong, that I got it wrong, and thought to myself afterwards, how could I get that wrong? Not sounding egoic, but I thought, how? But it's more the question of, how did I get it wrong? How did I misinterpret the sign of the symbol there? What did I, what? So I thought about it for a while, actually, but everything else in the reading was spot on. There's just one little thing that kind of, it didn't bother me, but I thought, maybe I am just wrong. Anyhow, a week later, the woman messages me back, and she said, David, I've got to tell you, my daughter has just walked in the house, ranting and raving, saying, Mum, you'll never guess what? I'm pregnant. And so I did giggle, and when the daughter told the mum that she was pregnant, the mum turned around to her and said, yeah, I know. She went, how do you know? She went, David told me. So unwittingly and unconsciously, I told her that well, I didn't say her daughter was pregnant, I saw a child around her. So again, you can see there that, if spirit want to get that message across in a way they will get it across to me, then they will. And I know many other mediums and other medium friends of mine are also very good at pinpointing pregnancies. Again, we don't go out there to do it. That's what we have to think about, is that we don't wittingly go out there to go, right, I'm going to tell that person that she's pregnant. We don't do that. I don't have a record sheet or a tally sheet of how many times I've got it right. It's just we go with the flow of what comes in. But at the same time, if you are learning and developing as a medium, just be aware of that. We don't go into fertility issues, again, unless you're a fertility expert, unless you're doing the IVF for that person, then you can't really have an opinion on, are you going to get pregnant? Because again, it also comes down to people's free will. And I use this example as a bit lightly, but if someone was to come to me, for example, and I was doing, a tarot spread for them, and they asked me, am I going to get pregnant, right? Let's say a tarot card came out saying yes, like the Empress card, for example. And it might indicate, and that's the correct word, it might indicate that they might be pregnant. But if that person does not go and practice getting pregnant, they're not going to get pregnant. So free will also comes into it. Free will of the person definitely comes in. So we can't ever guarantee that someone's going to get pregnant, whether it's going to be a good result or a bad result. You might feel a negative result around something. You might feel that someone just isn't going to get there. But is that up to you to tell them? I would suggest not, because one thing I always work with is I work with the ethos of I should always leave my clients feeling better than they did when they first walked in to see me. And that's not to sound airy-fairy, but that's why we do it. We're not here to be, oh, look at me, I'm the all-seeing, all-knowing oracle. We simply give the information that we get, but we're smart with it. We learn the ethics, the morals, and the boundaries that we work with when we're working with spirit. Because, look, at the end of the day, spirit are never wrong. But the human, the vehicle, the medium, we're the ones that can be wrong, but spirit are not wrong. So just be very careful that when we're given information about pregnancy, that we are 100% confident in what we're feeling or hearing or sensing or seeing from spirit. So again, it's one of those things like health. Be smart about what you say and how you're going to say it. And when it comes to going for readings, again, just very careful who you go to. We shouldn't ever give pregnancy predictions, especially if you're a psychic, again, right? Because depending on how the psychic works, I can't talk for everybody, but if you're just reading from cards, it's just a card. The psychic should be using their intuition along with the cards to read for you, because there are people out there who would purport themselves to be a psychic card reader, but all they are is a card reader. Anyone can read a card, but you need someone with a good reputation who is going to use their intuition whilst reading the cards to get the information that you want. But I'll suggest, the last thing to say is, if you are having fertility issues, don't go and see a psychic or a medium. Go and see a GP. Go and see a medical specialist. So there you have it. That's that episode finished. Hopefully you enjoyed what you heard, and if so, there are plenty more episodes in the Spiritual Impact series to come. So do stick around if you're interested in learning more from my own personal experiences with spirit. Once again, you can find the videos on YouTube if you wish to watch me talk about it. Otherwise, please stick around with the podcast and you can download the episodes and listen until your heart's content. But until then, look after yourselves, and hopefully I'll speak to you all soon.